Hey, Sean, how are you doing today?
Doing great. I am over here in rainy Georgia, Tennessee area. Good day to be doing a podcast indoors.
Awesome, great stuff. Do you have a favorite quote, something that inspires or motivates you, you would like to share with our audience?
I think one thing that's always inspired me or motivated me is basically the saying that what one man can do, another can do. We're all cut from the same cloth. Growing up, I had no barriers on what I felt that I could do. And I've just carried that into adulthood. If there's a challenge, if there's a task, if there's a business I want to do, I learn about it. I take action on it and I see what happens. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But I've just always had the mindset that, what someone is doing to make money or if someone else is running a different business, I look at what they're doing and believe that I can do that as well. And it inspires me to take action. And I'm a very curious person. So I love following my curiosities, following different paths throughout life. I think that's one of the things that makes life most interesting is that you can choose different paths, you can learn different things.
Hmm.
And when it comes to business, when it comes to founding businesses, I've never been afraid to try something. Now, it doesn't always work, but the winners, you do win, you do succeed. And that's one of the things I just believe that what another person can do, you can do as well.
Indeed, indeed. And that's why, we need entrepreneurs like yourself on the show to inspire not just the people who are working from 9 to 5, but also the people who are going through the difficulties, the trenches right now, and they want to go other side of the forest in that sense, right? So, Shen, let's talk a little bit more about you before we start talking about the learnings, the strategies you have used to create multiple businesses. I'm eager to learn more about yourself as the person behind these successful ventures you have created. Can you take us back to your roots and share with our listeners about your childhood, your upbringing? How did your early stage experiences shape your journey and eventually led you to become an entrepreneur in your current date? And were there any key influences in your childhood? You know, a figure like I don't know if you have read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, somebody like
Yeah.
that. And then what what kind of role this particular figure played in your upbringing, to shape your entrepreneurial spirit?
Gotcha. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack there. Um, Personally, I think your childhood has a lot to do. You can overcome a lot of things if you had a bad childhood. But I was very, very fortunate in that, my parents were awesome. I won the genetic lottery. They never held me back from exploring what I wanted to do as a child. And as a child, there was one thing, though, I was the only child and I didn't have a lot of social interaction. So I was very shy. And I would say about eighth grade, I realized, hey, I'm behind everyone else socially. Like I had that self awareness that this is a deficit. And that was when I pretty much started a journey of always trying to improve myself and grow within myself. So I am 45 now. So we're going way back into late 90s. When you wanted to improve yourself, there was no YouTube, there was no internet. So the question is, how can I go from this shy kid to someone who is more, who is better and grow? So I actually went to the bookstores and it was not cool back then to be in a self-help. You walk into the bookstore, you walk into the aisle and you look around, you hope no one's watching you as you're going through
Yeah.
these books to try to figure out how to how to talk to people, how to not be shy, things like that.
Mm.
Actually, very, very embarrassing. I remember purchasing the book, taking it home and hiding the book so my parents wouldn't see it because it was that embarrassing to work on myself, to improve myself, to admit I had these faults.
Mm.
So that was the first step of me working on myself. And I just took that all through my life. If I had an issue, I had a problem, I would just go out and look for the solution. So there were many people and many mentors, so to speak. I never had an official coach or mentor, but I was very big into books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a book that really kicked me off on my entrepreneurial journey. When I was in college, I had a real estate major, but that major teaches you to go work for a corporation. When I took an entrepreneurship class, I read that book and I realized at that moment I did not want to work for anyone else. And that has proven to be true throughout my lifetime. I'm a terrible employee. I'm a great entrepreneur because I love working for myself. I'm a terrible employee working for others. I love expressing myself and my creative talents, not necessarily being told what to do by someone else. And I think being an entrepreneur, you do have to have certain personality traits and characteristics to be successful in it.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
going back to right before that, though, you said people have to come out of the forest, so they want to get out of the forest. What I've learned is the forest just changes. So
Mm,
there is no, I'm going to build this and then I'm done. I'm happy and at peace.
mm.
As you grow, you actually develop more problems and more things that you had to conquer. And again, going back to my childhood, growing and life is going to keep throwing you challenges to keep growing yourself, and you either improve or you get bitter and fall under uh, the stress and the challenges that life throws at you.
Yeah, and I want to touch on this point because this is you're spot on, by the way. Thanks for this, because every single entrepreneur right now sitting in a cubicle working in a $1 trillion company somewhere in West London or in central Paris, right? What they're thinking, oh, I have spent 250,000 pounds for my Oxford degree. Now I got selected in Meta, worked there for 5 years. Now I switched to Google. I'm working here for the last 6 years. I make a lot of money, but I am not happy. I have a house which has 35 years of mortgage on it, so I'm working for it. I have a car. I'm paying back my car finances, and I'm paying all my insurances, health insurances, taking care of my kids and family. But there's nothing interesting which wakes me up from my bed in the middle of the night and still have a sparkle in my eyes, right? I'm still working 40 to 48 hours. What will happen if I leave this job? Will I work less than 40 hours? How interesting it would be for me to work on something which I want to do. So, this is a myth going on in the air, if you know what I mean. That becoming an entrepreneur is like having a yacht. Becoming an entrepreneur is like going into these ball parties, sitting up with these multimillionaires and having fun. Could you throw some light on it? The entrepreneur who works 80 hours to avoid 40 hours job. What are your thoughts on it?
So going back to your question, I think there's a difference between happiness and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
I am very fulfilled by what I do. Like, I enjoy it. I look forward to it. I wouldn't say it always makes me happy, right? Because I'm the one that puts out all the fires in my business. All my employees are coming to me and saying, we got this problem, this problem, this problem. And it's a 24-hour business. So, particularly I do property management. Things can happen at any time and all times. So someone who is in the 40-hour job may not realize that once you exit that 40-hour job and you are doing entrepreneur business, you are founding your own business. It's like a child. You just can't get away from it. You have to take care of it and nurture it just like a child. So a 40-hour job, you could go to your job, you walk away, you're done. And a lot of people, I don't think, realize that's a very difficult, that it's not happiness as much as fulfillment. If your job isn't fulfilling you, then what will fulfill you? What do you want to try? What do you want to put that spark into? Because if you're doing something that you're not showing your light, your inner light of what you want to do, and that makes you happy, search around and find it. But you don't necessarily have to quit that job to search around and find it. And it may not even be entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is just the trendy thing for a lot of people. Again, you got to have a certain personality type, a certain resilience, an ability to handle negative energy, negative things that happen to you and bounce back from it. If something goes wrong, you can't go hide. You have to face it. A lot of those traits, a lot of people who are in a regular job may not be immediately used to. So I think anyone who's in a regular job should look at trying to found a business on the side. And with the technology today, founding a business or running a business is so much easier compared to 15 years ago. So I had a property management company 15 years ago. Standard operating procedures was written down in a book, but now there's software. and the software just delegates out to my team. So it's so much easier now to start a business and run a business. I recommend people try to find what they want to do while they're still working a job. But that means you've got to be willing to audit your time and be willing to commit to that. And that's where most people fail. Most people love the idea of an entrepreneurship business or starting their own business, but the actual taking action on it is a lot harder than the idea of it. And people get stuck on the idea instead of moving to the action steps. So the idea is one thing, but putting it into action and seeing if it really is something that fulfills you or if it's something that's going to make your life worse. Because it could go either way, honestly, until you try it out and see if it is a good fit for you.
Indeed, indeed. And I picked up some golden nuggets from your story also. Like you flipped 100 plus houses, you came back after the crash, and then you had like $8 million of sales to start over, right? Would you
Yep.
be able to share that part of your journey with our audience? How did you start it? How did you got to the success? How did the crash affected you? And then what did you do to come back again?
Yeah. One of the biggest things going back to wanting to be an entrepreneur, a lot of it's ego. So I was in my 20s when I started all this, and I will fully admit I was caught up into keeping up with the Joneses, but real estate investing style. So if you talk to a real estate investor who bought all these houses, it's like, okay, I want to go buy all these houses. And banks were throwing money at you at the time. Instead of actually analyzing the nuts and bolts and the financial sense of things, I got caught up in buying a bunch of houses. They were over leveraged, and the market also killed us because we thought the market it went down in 2007. We thought 2008 or 2009 it would come back up because historically real estate had never went down that badly in recessions. Very, very little drop, but obviously that was the exception. It went to 2013. I had to file bankruptcy. I lost everything and felt pretty miserable. And that's one of the things, a couple lessons I learned from that. One, I needed a more diverse skill set. So I am a very big believer in diverse cash flow income streams now. Back then, all I knew how to do was to buy a house, fix it up, and either sell it or rent it. Well, when you can't sell a house anymore, your only option is to rent it. When half your houses go vacant, and you have repairs to be made, and you're at a negative cash flow of $5,000 or $6,000 per month, and you already have a cash reserve shortage because you can't go flip a house anymore, it doesn't take very long before you're going bankrupt. I had no other skill sets. So lesson number one was I need to figure out how to make money in multiple ways, not just one, because if the economy shifts, you got to be able to shift with it. When you're in your 20s, time seems to go a lot slower. And also because you don't have experience, you believe what you're doing isn't going to change. You believe the market you're in is the market. The market changes and it changes quickly. And you can't predict it. You can't predict where the market's going to go in your industry. It could be a short-term downturn. It could be a longer-term downturn. So you've always got to be developing skill sets and figuring out how to pivot when things in your industry shifts. Because that's the reason most businesses fail and don't last 10 years is the market shifts on them and they don't pivot and they go out of business. So that was the first lesson. The second lesson was had to drop my ego. I thought I was amazing. I thought I couldn't make any mistakes. I learned very quickly, no, that's not correct. So that totally shattered my, I guess, how grand I was persona. And also your mistakes last for years. So if you make a poor choice financially, even though I filed bankruptcy, just the emotional repercussions, just the failure of it all actually took me a couple years to work out of mentally. So the market in 2013 started shifting upward. I saw that. In 2014, I felt confident that the market was in an upward trend. So I decided I needed to get back in because I didn't have a lot of skill sets. I did have a small web design company I was doing during that time because I was good with computers. But I did love real estate. That again fulfilled me. So I went back and got my real estate license. In late 2014 to about 2019, I ran a real estate agent team, one of the first teams in our area. $8 million in sales isn't a lot now because all the appreciation that shot up after COVID. But during that time frame and the small market I was in, we turned over 40 to 60 houses a year with a team of 2 or 3 agents and really kind of set the standard in our market. it was so I developed the ability to sell houses as a real estate agent. I developed the ability to sell different types of houses as a real estate agent, foreclosures, retail houses. So we looked into different niches. The other thing I was able to do as well is um, in 2019, I decided to start a property management company again. I had one previously that blew up due to a failed partnership. Again, lessons learned. I made all my worst mistakes in my late 20s, early 30s, but that has really set the foundation for me to build a solid business now. So that's essentially what I've done. And while it wasn't pleasant, going through all those terrible things has really set me up to be successful now. And that's just part of the entrepreneur's journey is you gotta get out there, you gotta make the mistakes, you gotta fail, and you gotta be willing to come back and keep trying again and learning and growing.
What did inspired you to leap into the launching the insurance agency back in 2023 then? Because, you mentioned that you started with real estate,
Mm-hmm.
then the crash happened. There was a side hustle for web development company that didn't work out. I guess you also worked somewhere else during that time. But then what
Uh,
happened?
no, actually, so I did. Imagine I'm broke. I got no money. I need to go get a job. I go and I'm desperate. I go to like a vitamin store and
Mm,
I fill out their application and I'm putting all these things I've done. And then they respond to me, "You're overqualified."
mm,
So I couldn't even get a retail job. So at that point, again, this is probably just a sign that I'm not figure it out yourself, Shane, because you can do this. So that's when I put together a small team to do web design development. So I joined the local chamber of commerce, networked with businesses, and sold websites. And I also did do some work for a real estate agent. Technically as an assistant, but I generally kept most of the income from it. These things are called broker price opinions. Basically, you just do valuations for banks. They pay you just a tiny bit of money. So I ran and did those, and those two things kept me afloat until I was able to steady myself back in 2014. The insurance agency. So going back to where I said I needed different cash flow income streams,
yeah, yeah.
I run a property management company. So if you think about property management, you have owners who own real estate. What does everybody need if they own real estate? Insurance. So I decided to go get an insurance license and sell insurance to my property owners. I did have since back in my 20s, I did sell life insurance as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some knowledge of insurance in general, but I thought this would be a great add-on to my property management company. It's not really been a real profit generator yet because we're still growing and building the property management company. So, but the insurance agency I'm looking to get to probably in the next year or two. The main thing we did is I need to hire staff. So I need to hire a sales rep. I need to hire a customer service rep. But the past year, I've been figuring the ins and outs of it. And it's just been kind of a baby sitting there on the side that we're going to develop and grow in the next couple of years. My goal is with the property management company, with the insurance agency, I'm 45 now, in 10 years, see where I'm at and look at selling off both entities to basically be the majority of my retirement income.
Got it. Got it. And would you be able to share some or break some myths about real estate or entrepreneurship in general that
Sure.
drives you nuts?
Oh, biggest mistake about real estate is if you go back to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks a lot about real estate, get into
Mm,
real estate. The thing is, there's a difference between a real estate business and real estate investing. If you buy a house for investing, it is correct that the tenant's going to pay the mortgage down, but your cash flow is only a couple hundred, $300 a month usually, unless you, or it's very small usually, unless you got partners in.
mm,
And the mistake is people try to buy, because this is my mistake. I bought a bunch of rental property and I was trying to live off that cash flow. But again, when they went vacant, I was suddenly in a huge hole. And that's a huge financial drain. So people mix up, I want to be a real estate investor. No, you want to build a real estate business, and building a business is a different skill set than
mm.
investing, where you buy a house, let the tenant pay off the mortgage over that time, and then that's it. But you have other income coming from somewhere else. If you're going into real estate for full-time income, is probably one of the most difficult businesses you can do
Mm,
because you don't have reoccurring income. If you're a real estate agent, commissions, they come and go. If you're flipping a house, that comes and go. Rental income, again, if the tenant vacates and you're having to come out of pocket, um, that's difficult. There's not a lot of actual cash flow itself in real estate, and that's why most people fail in real estate. It's very glamorous. You see all the TV shows about it,
mm.
but a lot of that money you get from flipping houses just rolls right into the next house, and all that money keeps rolling around. Uh, you never really get to keep any of it. So what I would really advise people is not necessarily jump into real estate. If you can build another business that cash flows and then do real estate investing with it, I think is the ideal situation, because property management gives me a monthly income now. I don't have to worry about trying to sell a house just to make my bills next month. And it's a real business. You can't really sell real estate agent teams. I've seen someone do it. I don't know why the other person bought it, but you can't really sell real estate agent teams. You don't see real estate flipping companies being sold in the business market. So if a business isn't sellable, it's probably not a very viable business if it doesn't have a stable cash flow income. And so that's the biggest thing. People get sucked into real estate investing and thinking it's going to free them. But oftentimes, if you don't have the fundamentals of cash from a business or income somewhere else, it's very difficult to actually succeed in.
Indeed, indeed. And this has been my personal learning also. Like, if you are an entrepreneur or a founder, or even if you're in this space first time, the one thing you have to be very, very vigilant about is your cash flow. If you do not understand it, learn it, work with someone who does it every day, understand how much pressure you have to handle, not just to look after yourself, but also about the people who are, on your payroll, because
Making
they're
payroll.
dependent
And
on
there's
you. Yeah,
just going to be times where you're struggling to make payroll because that's just
indeed.
running a business.
Definitely. So this is something which every entrepreneur needs to think about from day one, even though if you have a lot of investment available.
Have you read the book Profit First?
Not yet, but I've heard
That
about
is a fabulous book every entrepreneur should read.
it. Yeah. Let me
Yep.
add that into my.
I read that book a couple of years ago and I was like, this is so simple. This
Mhm.
makes sense. Now, the metrics he lays out in that book, they're sort of targets you want to aim for. If you're just starting a business, there's no way you're going to hit them. But they're targets that you should be aiming for, because a lot of entrepreneurs, when they start a business, they get used to running on a shoestring cash flow. And it's almost like a bad habit that you can't get rid of. As opposed to, okay, you need to set a target for profit reserves, taxes, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of that comes down to habits and mental. Like, as entrepreneurs, we're starting a business, we're on a shoestring budget, but in our head, we see if we could add this person, then we can grow to here. But, then you get in cash flow trouble. And then what you think in your head doesn't work out in real life, especially when you're dealing with humans and employees.
Definitely, definitely. So Shane, talk with our audience. Tell them about what are the. I mean, you have shared quite a lot of learnings, but throughout your journey and experience, there must have been some valuable lessons, right? If you don't mind sharing, could you reflect on your experience and tell us about a mistake or a setback that you encountered on the way that you now consider not a regret, but kind of a lesson learned? And additionally, what advice would you give our listeners based on this experience?
I believe one of the biggest mistakes I made back when everything was crashing down, I had this mindset that I'm going to take care of my people. We're going to get through this. There's nothing that's going to stop us. And the snowball kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was so determined, instead of just seeing the signs and saying, I need to stop, I need to tell my people, unfortunately, this isn't working out, and I just need to stop. I kept trying to go. And what I learned is, you feel like you're trying to do your best to help your people, and you're scratching to get them paychecks. I've now got bank accounts bouncing because I'm determined we can figure this out, right? And what ends up happening is, when it does, where you hit rock bottom and you can't do anything else anymore, those people, they're good people. But what happens is, they will turn on you. And it's a subconscious thing to where they have to actually get angry or upset at you and blame you for it so they can move on to wherever they got to go. So the biggest thing I learned is, stop trying to hang on for other people. If it's a situation and it's trending downward, you've got to stop the bleeding. And if that means letting people go, it's okay, because they're going to be okay. I had this real hard time letting people go, because I feel like, what are they going to do? How are they going to make it? But they will be okay. Everybody has their own journey. And if you have to let someone go, let them go. You be upfront with them. And it's better in the long term, because when everything comes unraveling, where you can't make payroll, they get a lot more mad at you than if you just told them before, hey, I got to let you go. So understanding people and how people react in situations was one of the biggest things. But a lot of people get shocked when people turn against you when things go bad. And it's not, they're not intentionally being mean towards you. They're also upset about their life and their situation, and they express that blame on you. And it can feel very disorienting when you see people you thought that had your back do that. But it's just human nature, and you have to understand that. And you have to understand that if you're running I think one of the sayings I like best is like, if you want to contribute to charity, giving your last dollar doesn't help. Build a business where you can contribute like $100,000, right? So same thing with your employees. Instead of trying to hang on, let them go so they can find somewhere else. If you have to, if you're in a situation where things are going south, that was probably one of the biggest lessons I learned, was just how people act. And same thing with partnerships. I got to a partnership with the property management company. I chose the person because of the same thing. I was doing houses, I was buying them, selling them on a rent to own contract, and he would find people to fill these houses for me. But that started to dry up because bank financing was drying up. So I had the idea, well, I can't let this guy just, not go. Let's make him a partner. So I said, let's be partners in a property management company. I didn't understand a partnership is a marriage. And if I didn't know him well enough to do that. And I jumped into this partnership because one of the big things is, well, let's partner up. Let's do things together. And it's true. If you have a good partnership, it can excel. It can 10, 100x what you're doing. But also it's a double-edged sword, just like debt, just like leverage. It can also sink you faster than anything else. And so we operated for a couple of years, but it didn't work out. And it wasn't, he was not a bad guy. It just didn't work out. He was oil, I was water. A lot was going on, particularly with me losing all my other properties and my other business and all that. So it was a lot. Learning people and learning how people will act, and that people will self-preserve and turn around and blame you for things, is just something I've learned to accept, and understanding you're not the savior of everybody. You can't save somebody if you don't have a business that doesn't actually cash flow.
Got it. Got it. Great. I think before moving towards our lightning round, I want to ask you a personal question. Like, you have started, stopped, went bankrupt, again started, again stopped. So you have a very good understanding of how to restart things, especially when it comes to business. What is the process or step-by-step framework you follow when you're starting a business? This is a question I'm asking on behalf of all these listeners we have on our show who are still into their 9 to 5, or they already jumped, across that border and they want to start up. But what's the golden nugget process or framework you would like to share with our audience, where you want to say, okay, do this, do that, do this, and then like jump into the business space?
I think the key to that is the key to any business. People say, I want to do real estate, but what is real estate? Whether you're flipping a house, whether you're trying to invest, whether you're trying to be a real estate agent, if you're even trying to build a property management company, what do you have to do to get started? And this is where a lot of people get stuck, is, how do I start a business? And it comes down, in my mind, to marketing and sales. You can start any business if you understand how to market and get leads, how to sell and close leads. It doesn't really matter what the vehicle is, but you're not really in real estate. You're in marketing and sales. If you're a real estate agent, you need to market to find leads to list or buyers, and you need to close those leads on working with you. If you're flipping a house, you need to find motivated sellers who will offer a house at a discount, and you need to close those leads when you're with them at the kitchen table. So any business essentially starts with that, understanding marketing, copywriting, and sales. So before anyone wants to start any sort of business, they need to understand and study those skill sets extensively, I think. Once you have marketing and you have sales, you can essentially go and develop a plan to build any business. The next step after that, though, is understanding cash flow and finances. So you need to be very, very lean. Don't get suckered into, there's a lot of software, a lot of SaaS software. You can be looking to start a business and suddenly find yourself spending a huge amount of money per month on software, and you don't have any sort of business coming in to cover it. So start lean. Figure out how to start lean in your business and grow over time. But understanding cash flow And that is the next step. So marketing, sales, cash flow, pick the vehicle you want. You can go to even Chat GPT these days, type in, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to build, you're helping me build this business. What are the steps to take? It's going to give you a checklist of what you should probably do. Obviously, you want to vet it against your own research and then go do it and figure out where the mistakes are, figure out what fits you. Because I've taken a lot of courses, a lot of education in real estate, and I think that's very important. But what those teachers teach is based on their experience, their market, and the time that they were doing it. I've taken each of those courses and implemented what fits me, what fits my personality, and how can I implement that into my business. So taking that knowledge with those base skill sets and just having the perseverance to keep going and understand that there's going to be challenges. There's going to be things that no one's going to tell you that they don't know to tell you that you have to deal with.
Very interesting. Every single expert or strategist I had on my show, they always said that you have to focus on the top of the funnel where you're getting the traction, where you're getting the sales. But nobody talked about that this is the first thing you have to figure out even before starting the business. All the advices I've received from all these interviews is you sort that out once you start the business, first thing. But this is golden nugget. This is Shane, why I host this show. This is the learning from the experts like yourself from decade. You have like more than 2 decades of experience, and this is why our listeners thank for this show, because if somebody who has been in the business for more than 20 years telling you do not start the business before you figure out how you're going to get leads into your business, that's what we want to get out of your head. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for this.
Unfortunately, let's just take real estate for somebody. People watch the show like Selling Sunset or whatever, and they're like, I want to do that. And then they just go get their license, and then that's it. And, I fully believe you got to study marketing and sales for any business. That's the foundation.
Indeed. Perfect. Great. So I think that's a good time for us to get into our lightning round. I've got 6 quickfire questions for you. You don't have to answer all of them. If you think one of the questions you don't want to answer, just give me a shout and then we'll skip that. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, fire away.
Great stuff. Cool. So number 1, what's the top 3 strategies to generate leads for real estate business in 2025, no matter which part of the world you are? You're in US, you're in Europe, you're in Asia.
Number 1, I think, is social media. My top commercial agent gets over 360,000 views on our social media per month. And it's not posting her listing. It's not, posting real estate. I'd say about quarter, maybe 50% has to do with real estate. But a lot of it is her just stating her opinion on issues. Like she believes this on this issue. And when you make a divisive opinion on an issue, people either agree or disagree, but those that agree are going to follow you a lot more. So social media is number 1. Developing, I personally like doing educational things. So I love doing like podcasts. I love doing like seminars and things like that. So figuring out if you're in real estate, if you want to be a real estate investor, for example, or you want to do anything, find out what people need to learn and where you can get your leads in to learn from you. One good friend of mine I know is running a building a fund to loan out hard money to real estate investors. They're starting a business networking event for people 500K and above. So in person is really good to put with social media. And then the third thing is just copywriting. If you can understand copywriting, this applies to most any business, and Chat GPT makes this super easy now. Go in and just study copywriting because big brands buy billboards everywhere. Branding works, but you have to have a huge budget. Copywriting, if you can direct people to good copywriting, that can convert and get you leads. So in real estate, for example, have your listings to have really good copywriting, but marketing to expired listings that has a really good copywritten letter can get you responses. That's how we got leads for a very long time.
Indeed. Thank you so much for that. What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
What book would I recommend to entrepreneurs? There's a bunch. For the general spirit, Rich Dad, Poor Dad's great. I love the general spirit of it. I don't agree with everything 100% now at this point, but it kickstarted me. Can't beat it. Profit First, learn your cash flow. And those are probably my top two. I've got a ton of books I've read though. I mean, I have people walk in my office and they're like, "You've read every one of these." I'm like, "Yes, yes, I have," because
Yeah,
books and knowledge, even if it's the same kind of content, you kind of pick up nuggets and learn things from them. So study all the books you can, but those are obviously two great places to start.
definitely gonna add Profit First into my reading list now. I'm right now learning the titans of tools things, from the podcast host. Hopefully, after that, I'll put that one into my Kindle and go through it. Thank you so much for that. Uh, Question number three: what one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful founder?
Perseverance, never giving up.
Mm,
Like if you, uh, being relentless is what I always say. So being relentless and being stubborn, there's two different things. If you're being relentless, you, you're looking around, you're looking around, you're looking around, looking around, you find a way and you go. Being
mm,
stubborn is beating your head trying to go the same way. So
mm.
being relentless, perseverance is just always looking for an alternative solution to still get to where you're going to go. You have to have that, otherwise you're just going to give up at some point. And there are times when you got to say, okay, I can't go this way. I need to change to a different market segment. But being relentless means you find a way around it instead of being stubborn like I was in the market crash, trying to keep doing what I was doing.
Indeed, indeed. What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
Um, Personal habit. I am not very good at habits, to be honest with you. There's a lot of things that I should do that I don't do. Continually just trying to get better and do things a little better each day. Because what works for me is once I find a good flow in a system, I just stick to it. So like uh, for my organization, I've built out a flow in a system. I know what I'm doing each morning, and I just have a standard path that I take, at least in the morning times. Now, the afternoons, it can go anywhere. But there's no specific personal habits. A lot of what in me is a personality, and who you are as a person doesn't change very quickly. You just have to work on getting better over time. And it's like a block of ice. It changes and molds. You can mold your personality and mold who you are over time. I've tried to do like the 90-day challenges and all this other stuff, but it comes down to over time, just making incremental changes. For example, let's just take healthy eating. I ate terrible in my 20s. I didn't change that overnight. It's just over the years, I've tried to get better and better and educate myself on what's good and what's not good. And I eat pretty healthy now. I'm not 100% perfect, but compared to where I was, I'm a lot better now.
Perfect. What's a new or a crazy business idea you would love to pursue if you had time?
I would love if I had time to dive more into AI.
Mm,
Like I don't have, that's the only thing about being 45 now is in my 20s, early 30s, I feel like I had all the time in the world. And I did try a million different avenues because I enjoy it. I'm such a curious person and I love information and knowledge. If I was younger, I would figure out how AI works and how I can integrate it in to a business to help it and just learn about it because it is going to change a lot of things. It's going to replace a lot of virtual assistants. It's going to have a big impact. I think it's a little, people think it can do too much from what it can right now, but I can see in the future, it really is going to be a massive changer of things.
what an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know.
Interesting fun fact about me. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm a pretty plain person. Going back to what what one man can do, another can do. I don't think there's anything particularly special about me. Nothing particularly fun about me. I enjoy going out into the wilderness and hiking and backpacking. I love exercising with tennis,
Mm.
but I don't have anything particularly hidden about me that I don't think is abstract or abnormal for anyone else.
Well, you mentioned that you're into working out and tennis. I don't play tennis, so there you go. Something always good to learn, right? Great, Shane. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story, unpacking years of building these businesses and some of the ups and downs. People want to check out or get in touch with you. People want to get in touch. What's the best way to do that?
Sure. I actually love answering questions as long as it's answering a question or two and not me coaching you to your entire business. But I love answering questions. I'm pretty easy to find on social medias. My name is Shane Wilson Real Estate or Shane Wilson Training.
Mhm.
If you search those in any social media, I should pop up. more or less. It's not like I have a huge following at this moment in time. I don't have millions and millions of followers, unfortunately, just a couple thousand. So if you want to find me on there and add me, you can DM me and send me questions. I'll be happy to answer.
Perfect. Shane, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and the impactful work you're doing through, your real estate businesses. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Founders Podcast.
Thank you. I enjoy sharing. I enjoy giving to others. So I really enjoyed this.
Great. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and stay updated on our future interviews. Make sure to search for Shane Wilson Property, and you will find him on LinkedIn and all other social media platforms. He'll be happy to answer your questions. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep building.